Hi everyone, I am Praveen, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Information Technology, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. Today's topic is what is cloud computing characteristics, and conventional computing versus cloud computing. So before going to explain about the cloud computing characteristics, let me take you through the definition of the cloud computing, which insists on the characteristics. The definition itself explains you what is the cloud computing and what it consists of. So let us move on to the definition. So according to the NIST cloud computing, NIST standards stands for National Institute for Standards and Technologies. NIST. So the cloud computing is a model for enabling convenient on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources such as networks, servers, storage, applications, and services that can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal management effort or service provider interaction. So if you look into the definition of this one, the cloud computing is a model for enabling convenient on-demand network access. So the cloud computing always is in a mode of on-demand of the network access, and it consists of the shared pool of resources such as networks, servers, storage, and application and services. So how these shared pool of resources are going to be provisioned to the user with minimal management effort and service provider interaction, we're gonna see in the cloud computing characteristics. The characteristics makes the cloud computing very interesting, and I'll take you through the characteristics of the cloud. And if you look into another definition of the cloud computing, it refers to use of various services such as software development platforms, storage, servers, and other software through internet connectivity is the other definition of cloud computing. So let us move on to the characteristics of the cloud computing. So if you look into here, we have 5 different types of characteristics related to the cloud computing. The first one among them is on-demand self-service. The next one is the broad network access. And third one is resource pooling. And the fourth one is rapid elasticity. And the fifth one is measured service. So as we know that on-demand self-service, the definition itself says the cloud computing is a on-demand self-service. So always the cloud computing is can be demanded with the provision of the shared pool of resources. And the next one is it is going to consist of the broad network access. It is not confined to a set of networks. It is globally connected and can be easily accessible to anyone from anywhere. That's why any organization or anyone can connect to the network, which means to say the broad network. Next one is the resource pooling, where the users can pool the resources. You know the meaning of the pooling, right? Just like we have the cabs, the cab pooling we gonna say, right? Or vehicle pooling we gonna say, right? Where the resources can be shared among the users who want to travel from one place to another place. In the similar way, the computing resources can also be shared among the different users willing to make use of that resource. And next one is the rapid elasticity. So having confined with the 2 servers, it can also be extended to a set of 6 servers or 10 servers depending on the usage of the customer or the user, and can be released upon the completion of the task. Next one is a measured service, where the resources can be happily measured according to the usage of the customer or user. So let us discuss about each and every characteristic in detail. The first one is the shared pool of resources. So resources are drawn from a common pool. So the resources are drawn from a common pool. It means to say that the resources can be shared from a set of resources which are for utilization from the various users or customers. Next among them is the common resources build economies of scale. So it means to say that when the resources are being used in common, the resources can be effectively utilized and as the resources are being in common for the various users, the cost leverage for those resources will also be distributed among the set of people who are using these resources. Just like as we have said that the pooling of the cabs, the carpooling will call. What does it means to say, right? So the people who are traveling in your direction will also be making use of the resource, okay, and they are going to pay for the travel what they are going to do, and you will also pay for the travel what you are mean to, okay, instead of paying the total cost for the service, the cost of the service will also be distributed among the users who are utilizing the service. Next is the common infrastructure runs at high efficiency. So as here the resources are being shared and pooled among the multiple customers, right? The infrastructure leveraged or the infrastructure confined to this setup will also be utilized effectively, and the efficiency of utilization of this infrastructure is going to be very high, and the resources will be promptly utilized for the usage of the customers or users. So no resource is left behind, and the resources can be easily allocated. Where multiple tenants can share the same space and resource can be assigned, reassigned and distributed as needed. So multiple tenants can share the same space, right? You know the meaning of the tenants, not no need to explain it precisely. So multiple tenants can share the same space, resources can be assigned upon the requirement and reassigned upon the requirement and distributed as needed by the tenant. So you can be anywhere in the world and still have the equal access as everyone else. So you can access the resource not only from one place, anywhere in the world, from at any point of time you can access this resource provided you have the internet access. So in order to access the cloud resources, certainly you need to have the proper internet access so that the work can be smoothly happen without any interruption. So this is about the shared pool of resources. Now let us move on to the next one, which is nothing but the broad network access, where the broad network access is successful with the help of the open standards and APIs. APIs stands for application programming interfaces, as you know, and almost always we have the internet protocol, HTTP and REST protocols for the usage and available from anywhere with an internet connection, right? So you must be able to access from across the web using any device with internet connectivity. So irrespective of whether you are working on a desktop, whether you are working on a laptop, mobile or tab, right, iPad, anything you can access, but only thing is you need to have the proper internet connectivity and you need to have proper authentications uh, for accessing the resource what you are looking for. So wherever you are, your cloud data will be accessible through web browsers. So you need to log in through a web browser and you need to give the login credentials and you can access the resources as well as on laptop or mobile devices even. So the reason for this is the fact its underlying infrastructure includes servers on multiple locations. So the cloud will have the replica of servers being maintained at different locations, which makes easy for the users to access the resources, to download the resources and to make their work happen, and they can release the resources once the task is being done. So as it is saying that the infrastructure includes the servers on multiple locations. So the cloud infrastructure will maintain the servers at different multiple locations where you can easily access these resources irrespective of the location, irrespective of the time. So this is about the broad network access. Next one is on-demand self-service. So as the cloud is completely automated, right? As the cloud computing is completely automated, you can use it whenever you need it and pay per use. So you can access the cloud resource whenever you need and you need to pay for the usage what you have made. And think of it like electricity. right? So how the electricity will function, we don't know about the source from where the electricity is getting. We won't bother about, but we bother about whether the electricity is being available in your plug or not. Whenever you plug in something, right, just like plug and play kind of thing. And for the electricity what you have consumed, you're going to pay for that one, irrespective of how much usage you are doing. So at the end of the month, you're going to generate a bill and you're going to pay the utilization for what you have made, right? So in essence, the cloud is a form of utility computing where you can create an account or pick your provider, and your services will be made available to you at any time. So you need to pick what sort of cloud service you are looking for, because we have different sorts of cloud service providers. If you look into, we have Amazon, we have IBM, we have Microsoft, we have uh, Microsoft. Okay, so these are the different kinds of cloud service providers available. So according to your requirement, according to your economics, right, you can select a respective cloud service provider and you can look for the services and you can make use of them at any time. So you are billed at the end of the month only for what you use. So you are going to be billed at the end of the month for the usage what you have made. So this form of storing and accessing your data gives you full control over your resource usage and spending. So this gives the complete insight into what is the amount of data you are accessing and what is the amount of data you are pushing onto the cloud, how much amount you are downloading from the cloud. You will have each and every information from month to month. Suppose if your utilization is very low, then the cost for that also will be in the similar manner. And suppose if your utilization is more, then the resources are going to be expanded, and for these expandable resources also you will be charged at the end of the month, and you need to pay for the resource what you have used. So this is about the on-demand self-service, which is completely automated and users abstracted from the implementation, where near real-time delivery, right, where the resources will be delivered in seconds or maximum in 1 or 2 minutes, and services accessed through a self-serve web interface, right? So self-serve web interface in the sense, here no need of any external management interaction into the service or any man who can provide the service to us. The services are free and you can make use of them at any point of time, just like the plug and play, and no need to be depending on anyone else. And next one is scalable and elastic. So resources dynamically allocated between users. So you understand the meaning of the scalable and elastic. So which is measurable and it is elastic, right? So elastic in nature. The cloud itself is elastic in nature, where resources will be dynamically allocated between the users. Any user who want to have the service of the cloud will be joined and the resources will be allocated. So as per the number of users connecting to the resource is going to be expanded according to the usage, and additional resources dynamically released when needed. So apart from this, even the additional resources will also be dynamically released when needed. As the number of users keep on connecting to the cloud, then the cloud is going to be expanded according to the requirement of the user, and the resources will be allocated. Next is fully automated, where cloud, as it is fully automated, the resources will be allocated according to the usage and the resources will be decreased as per the usage. So cloud can grow and shrink, we can say. Cloud can grow and the cloud can also shrink as much as possible without affecting any of its users or their information. So the cloud can be expanded, which is called as grown, and cloud can also shrink as much as possible without affecting any of its other users who are working on it and on their information as well. So for an example, if our business is experiencing peak traffic, the cloud can expand to accommodate all the new requests. So when suppose, just like an example, if you look into, suppose an examination server, when the results will get released, then people will rush into the cloud environment to access their resources, right? So at this point of time, the traffic will be very peak, and in order to accommodate this peak traffic and to accommodate all the new requests from the users, the resources are going to be expanded, and they will be smoothly allocated to look after the information what they are searching for. So this is about scalable and elastic. Next one is metered by use. So services are metered like a utility. So metered in the sense measured, because as it is a pay as you go service, so users pay only for services being used, and services can be cancelled at any point of time. So services are metered, services are measured, and according to the measures taken, users will pay only for the services what they have utilized, and even they can be cancelled. So you can examine how often people are using the cloud, whether they are heavily using the cloud or not at all using the cloud, or moderately using the cloud, or using more extremely high at some point of time and extremely low at another point of time. All these things will be measured. Number of users connecting to the cloud at some instant of time, right? So what is the peak traffic time? All these things will be measured. So many cloud service providers utilized the pay as you go model to ensure that their clients are getting what they pay for, and no more and no less. So according to the resources being utilized, the clients are going to be charged according to what they pay for, and no more and no less. So once again, this can be compared to electricity, as you get billed for the amount that you use. Just like the electricity, as you get billed for the amount of electricity that you have consumed at a particular month of instance. So this is about the cloud computing characteristics. And here we have the other one, which is called, as you have seen the cloud definition and the cloud computing characteristics. So let us have some differences between conventional and cloud computing mechanisms. So the differences between the conventional model and the cloud model, where the convention is manually provisioned, but whereas the cloud is self provision, right? So in the conventional, you need to have a manual interaction in order to provision the resources, but whereas on the cloud, you no need to depend on anyone, and it is self provision. Next one, in on the conventional, you have the dedicated hardware being available, whereas on the cloud you have the shared hardware. And if you look into the dedicated hardware, you have the less utilization of the hardware resources, and the cost for this one is also extremely high when compared to that of the cloud shared hardware resource, as the hardware resources are being shared among multiple users. Next one is you have the fixed capacity, but whereas on the cloud it is elastic in nature. So according to the resources being required, right, the cloud resources can also be expanded according to the number of users or tenants being connected to the cloud. Next one is a pay for capacity, and here what you're doing is pay for use. So on the conventional one, you're paying for the capacity, amount of servers you have purchased, services, everything, right? What not, starting from A to Z, everything is going to be purchased specifically, and the cost is bearable. But whereas on the cloud, here it is pay for use, only for the resources what you have consumed, you are going to pay for that one, and no extra expenses. So here in the conventional, you have capital and operational expenses need to be taken into consideration, but whereas on the cloud you have only operational expenses, means what you need to pay only for the things what you have utilized. And if you look into conventional, we have managed via system admins cloud, but whereas it is managed via APIs. So for conventional, you need to have the system admins need to be managed, okay, and whereas on the cloud it will be managed by APIs, application programming interfaces. So this is about what is cloud computing according to the definition, the characteristics of cloud computing, and the difference between the conventional computing versus cloud computing. Thank you. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.